The latest philosophy of the era of communism. Philosophy before the era of communism. It is generally believed that for the first time the word philosophy appeared in the manuscripts of Greek philosophers. Before this, the term philosophy, which denotes the science of anything, did not exist. That is, philosophy appeared at a fairly high level of human development. Philosophy is commonly understood as the science of the unknown. Since everything around was unknown to ancient man, any knowledge and experience was philosophical knowledge and experience. But with the accumulation of knowledge and experience in specific areas of human activity, independent sciences with their own knowledge and experience in these areas of activity began to stand out from philosophy. And at the turn of the 17th and 18th centuries, with the acceleration in the development of mankind in highly specialized fields of human activity, the sciences for the study of these fields of activity began to rapidly stand out from philosophy. And philosophy is faced with a crisis of spheres to study. And the way out of the crisis was found in rethinking philosophy. Until now, philosophers have only explained the world in different ways, but the point is to change it. The famous quote from Karl Marx gives a new direction in the development of philosophy. As a result of this rethinking, philosophy goes into arguments about abstractions. That is, the topics of philosophical abstractions were discussions about man, the meaning of life, culture, nature, society, the invisible world, politics, and the state structure. And so on. Many philosophers and their philosophical schools have appeared in this direction of philosophy development. Philosophy has become a basic subject for all liberal arts universities around the world. And the logical question is, why is philosophy given so much attention? It is important to understand that in philosophy everything is relative. The subject of study for philosophy is truth in its eternal incomprehensibility. Therefore, there are no authorities in philosophy. And the essence of philosophy is the criticism of everything and everything. And within the framework of philosophy, people are prepared for constant criticism of anything. That is, there are already a huge mass of people around the world who are ready to criticize anything. It remains only to choose a target for criticism and observe how it transforms under the influence of criticism. And the history of Russia since the 18th century has a lot of examples of how targeted criticism of the Russian government did what wars and foreign interventions could not do to Russia. Russia, under the blows of critics, both external and internal, actually surrendered to the mercy of the winners. In philosophy, people are constantly being tested for their ability to abstract from the outside world and logically develop topics that do not exist in reality. Constant training allows you to form teams of critics to complete tasks. If necessary and under favorable conditions, these teams can be used to form authorities from their supporters. In the meantime, such conditions are being created. All participants in philosophy can simply study or teach at their universities because teaching and learning philosophy has become mandatory in all developed countries. And huge financial resources are spent on such training and teaching. Thus, the philosophy of the 21st century is the vanguard in the global reformatting of the world for the purpose of its global change and management. The philosophy of the era of communism. In 2020, the discovery of all times and peoples was made in Russia. Communism on planet Earth was built a long time ago, and all people have been living in communism for a long time. And in communism, for a long time, everyone has the time and resources to do anything according to their needs. For everything, including the creation and development of all kinds of philosophical teachings and schools. In this context, the logical question is what communism is. Communism is not something that has been put on people's ears in the form of noodles for more than 100 years by all kinds of socialists. Communism is not about common children, wives, husbands, rakes, pitchforks, shovels, cars, boats, tractors, factories, farms, forests, rivers, fields, mountains and so on. Communism is a community of purpose. When primitive man first realized that it was easier and more fun to get food together, communism came simply, quickly, and without all kinds of bases, which all kinds of socialists love to speculate about. Primitive man had no technology, no culture, no understanding that there might be some basis to speculate about, but communism already existed. And once communism appeared, it only expanded and improved. The history of mankind is the history of communism. And the history of communism is the history of versions of communism. Communism was, is and will be forever. Only the versions of communism change. And that's okay. This is communism according to everyone's needs. There is a need to change versions of communism, please, as much as you want, no problem. And that's okay. This is communism according to everyone's needs. Needs rule the world. Needs are at the core of everything. And goals are formed based on needs, and communities gather around goals. And any community proves communism. Because communism is a community of purpose. Thus, what are the needs of such goals, what are the goals of such communities, what are the communities of such communism? And that's okay. This is communism according to everyone's needs. And it is important not to confuse needs with wishes. Communism is for everyone according to their needs, not according to their wishes. Wish list is limited only by a person's imagination. And needs are always limited by knowledge, experience, physiology, circumstances, and budget. This discovery gave rise to the announcement that humanity has entered the era of communism. And now it is the fourth year of the modern era, the era of communism. What gives the philosophy of the era of communism? The philosophy of the communist era provides knowledge as information for reflection and guidance in action. First, communism was built a long time ago and all people have been living in communism for a long time. This means that a bright future has long been a harsh reality for everyone. Communism is not the last stop of the tram. Communism is constantly improving. And the slogan, "Let's make communism better together," has long been implemented in every state. Secondly, communism has been built all over the planet for a long time and all people have been living in communism for a long time. The history of mankind is the history of communism. And the history of communism is the history of versions of communism. Communism was and will be forever. Only the versions of communism change. This means that versions of communism can be studied and compared with other versions of communism. Third, every state on the planet implements its own version of communism. And it is important to do everything so that the version of communism in Russia is competitive with the versions of communism in the USA and the EU. Fourth, communism has been built all over the planet for a long time and all people have been living in communism for a long time. And the current version of communism is provided with the current level of extracted resources. And if the level of resource extraction increases, then the version of communism can be improved. And if the level of resource extraction does not grow or decreases, then it is possible to roll back the version of communism to previous versions of communism, which correspond to the level of extracted resources. Fifth, communism has been built all over the planet for a long time and all people have been living in communism for a long time. And in communism, for a long time, everyone has the time and resources to do anything according to their needs. For everything, including the creation of philosophical doctrines and schools. And it is important to understand that philosophy, without a global project of managing the whole world, is just a human need for self-expression. According to this, the liberation of philosophy from the goal of changing the world will remove from philosophy responsibility for the evil that was committed in history under the influence of philosophical teachings.